Hi everyone. Very good afternoon to one and all who are available live with us on the platform of Zoom, as well as the people who have joined us on YouTube also. Give me a quick update if you guys are able to hear us. People who have joined us live. Shivani, I hope I'm audible, right?
Very well, really.
Others, you can just keep me posted in the chat box whether you guys are able to hear us well. I'm sure this time you guys are not facing any technical glitch also. The voice is clear. Perfect. So once again, a very good afternoon to one and all available on the platform of Zoom as well as on YouTube to discuss about the MBA journey in the year 2021, the level of competitive examinations that you need to go through. We'll discuss about the MBA journey, life in a business school, and we'll also discuss about the outcome in terms of placements also. It's my absolute honor to welcome Shivani Somani on board. Shivani's 2021 batch pass out of NMIMS Mumbai, who got placed at one of the best company available on campus placement, which is Google. So first of all, super duper congratulations, Shivani, for all the great achievements which you have made up till now. And I'm sure the journey is just begin. You will achieve a lot more milestones in your life than what you have done up till now. And I'm sure your story and your journey is going to keep inspiring all the other people who are looking forward to join business school just like you and to shape up their career ahead. Shivani, first of all, we would love to know about your entire background and the achievement. Coming from a small town called Chandrapur to working for one of the best company in the globe, which is Google. How did things go and fall in place for you?
So first of all, thank you, Abhijit, for having me here. I'm really glad, and thank you for hosting me here. Just before I enter into the formal discussion, a small disclaimer that
Sure.
all opinions and suggestions, everything that I say in this discussion is completely my individual opinion. Neither NMIMS nor Google endorses them, so please don't hold them accountable. All right. So with that, I will get to answering your question. Like Abhijit mentioned, I am from a very small town in Maharashtra called Chandrapur. I've done my schooling there and then moved on to Nagpur to pursue my engineering. Like so many unique people. I am an engineer, then Worksh, and then MBA. So the journey was very interesting, and there were moments which were challenging. There were moments which were really introspective, in the sense that I'm sure a lot of us go through it, that when we start our careers, or even when we are pursuing engineering, we keep questioning whether we are doing the right thing or not. I guess it all summed up eventually, like all the piling of small things eventually came up very well to where I am today. I think my schooling, small bits of it, although I come from a small town, I used to take my academics very seriously. I used to take my school activities very seriously and thoroughly enjoyed them, or at least I may not be a winner. I was never an academic achiever in that sense, but I always used to participate, always used to explore every platform I had. So that facet remained from school to during my engineering days. So during my engineering days, I started working as an educationist part time since I think I was 19. So at that point in time, I felt really bad. That entire experience came out of uh, my wish to support my education. I just wanted to
Mhm.
be, in my own little way, I wanted to contribute to my education, and it sometimes felt bad that most of my friends are out there partying, enjoying, chilling, and I am going to work. But I think that experience today, in retrospect, all of them gave me so many perspectives, so many lessons, so many learnings that that has contributed to where I am today. So
Mhm.
post college, I started working with one of the biggest ed tech firms we have today called Byju's. So I worked there for around 2 years, 3 months. Moved on to Mumbai to work at Upgrad, another huge ed tech firm. And then through the process, I realized that, there's so much more to learn. And although while I was parallelly preparing for my higher education, like in different sense, so I started with self preparation, and going forward, uh, luckily I landed up with NMIMS, and this journey of constantly learning, constantly evolving, continued with NMIMS, and I think that's what brought me here.
Shivani, I believe the journey with Byju's and Upgrad, the two leading startups, has given you immense exposure also, right, with respect to what management would be all about. Coming from a technical discipline, I'm sure that your job profile at either of the given firms was never technical. You always into business processes and development, right? So what was the major
Right.
stimulus which you got basically, which instigate the thought of going ahead for the higher education, especially with MBA? There are a lot of options which could have been available then also, right? So, I
Right.
mean, is it the story which you might have experienced inside the given corporates by talking to people who are working as a fellow colleagues, your senior, or possibly, or is it something external factor which you decided on the basis of what you decided to go ahead with the journey of MBA ahead? What was the main stimulus is what I'm looking for, which was the sparking element in your journey of an MBA?
So again, like a lot of students in India,
Yeah.
if we don't understand it, or if we don't know what we want to do with our careers, we do engineering first and then figure out what we want to do in our careers, right? So similar story. I did engineering because my dad really wanted me to be an engineer, and I was comfortable with mathematics. I really liked the subject. So I'm like, might as well give this a chance, and then we take it from there. But when I started working, especially when I started working, I during my engineering, I realized that I'm not going to be a great engineer. So let's not sabotage or put so many lives in jeopardy by actually pursuing a career in engineering. So, and then eventually, luckily, like I said, I had been an educationist since I was 19. So
No.
education as a field had always fascinated me. It came to me very naturally. I love talking to people. I love, first of all, I love learning myself, and I loved explaining whatever I knew to other people. So it all came together, and then that's why I think it came up naturally that I ended up at Byju's. At Byju's, I was a product development associate, and at Brad, I was a content strategist. So both the places, while working itself, I used to time and again. Because both of them were emerging startups, so there were a lot of responsibilities that I got to undertake, a lot of projects, a lot of things I could explore. There was a level of risk taking that both the companies allowed you to take. So during that entire process, I started realizing that there's so much more to learn. There is so much more that I don't know. And although definitely there is no discount to learning on the job, but formal education, a formal structure that MBA provides you, I think that's the right direction. Uh,
Okay.
many students do have compensation as a motive, but I think that should be secondary when it comes to long-term career perspectives.
So how do you define, let's say people who have joined us, they are upcoming MBA aspirant. They have not even experienced what the MBA journey is going to be all about. They are just in a rat race of writing the management exams and having no clear thought of what's going to happen with them once they join the business school. And I'm sure it's going to be really difficult, and you also might have experienced to define your short-term and long-term goals prior to joining the business school, right? Because that journey is something that you have just heard of them with couple of students who have joined the elite business schools just like you. So how do you carve the entire path which you have not seen, which you have not experienced, defining your short-term goals or your long-term goals? I'm sure the journey of working for Google was not something which you have decided long back
Right.
when you were a fresh pass out of an engineering college. So is it just the experience which you gather while working or while experiencing inside the college or working for the corporate and accumulating them and making sure that whatever you are experiencing is going to accountable for the longer milestone which you want to experience and achieve in your life, or you just talk and talk and talk and do enough research about the upcoming path that you can choose and deciding on fixing one of them which is going to be aligned with your strength and the weak areas? How do you decide your strength and on the basis of your strength areas, on the basis of your skill set, how do you decide that okay, this is what I could become, And to become this, I possibly would have to join this kind of a business school, this kind of a specialization, or possibly I got to nurture X, Y, Z amount of skills. How do you decide all these elements? I mean, prematurely, before joining the business school itself.
So I think you asked a great question, Abhijit. I think it's a combination of everything you said, a little bit of everything you said. So of course, like nobody can preempt, okay, this is the company I'm going to join. What if I, you never know. What if that year the company is not hiring, or what if it is not offering the role that you want to get, right? I mean, if you're a marketing student and the company this year has come for finance roles, so you cannot preempt that this is the company I want to join, or this is exact. You cannot basically, you can only plan or you can only prepare, but you cannot preempt or carve out your journey. So it is exactly that learning. I think one very important factor that plays into that comes into play here is learning constantly, keeping an open mind, and definitely, like you said, definitely doing research and talking to people. So if I talk about my journey, of course, like MBA did not naturally come to me, right? Okay, I want to learn job mein, I want to do better at my job. So okay, MBA is the next step. Of course, you think, okay, should it be what kind of masters should it be? In fact, at one point in time, I also explored the PhD option because, like I said, I loved education as a field. So I thought, should I enter into academia? So it's definitely talking to people. Now that's where you have to understand where to strike a balance. If you talk to too little people or very limited people or same set of people, you get the same perspectives. So that's also a limitation. But if you talk to too many people, a very wide range, like basic, there are all kinds of us, right? Some people believe in consulting so much that when the actual time of action comes, we are so confused.
Certainly, yes.
We are in the internet era, right? There is no shortage of information. Everything is basically just a Google search away, so to speak, right? So information is not the problem today. In access to the right information, which is made for you. I think so. Definitely do your thorough research. Talk to a few people at least, people who have been there. Even if it's not necessary that they might have seemingly, they might have been achievers, so to speak, but people who are experienced enough to understand whether they have succeeded. Again, success and failure, I don't believe it's absolute, but whatever their experience may be, wherever they have landed, irrespective of that, you should talk to a few people, understand their perspectives, and whatever options you are considering. I do think that if you intend to pursue a career in corporate, MBA could be an answer for you, because eventually, as you grow up the ladder, you do have to gain certain business perspectives. So even if, just for instance, even if you don't decide to do an MBA, there are moments when your organization will push you ahead, but it will be like 10, 15 years down the line, and it's a little difficult to learn. It does slow your chances of growth. So now I think when students are early in their career, it's a better time to figure out whether to do an MBA. So I think research is one very important thing. It would be great if you can consult somebody professional. Like for example, MBAP also we offer counseling sessions. I know. So somebody professional also will be able to guide you in the right direction. And don't worry that all these. If there's an organization, it has to be commercial. It's not necessary. Nobody can push a career choice down your throat, right? You will be convinced if you want to do it. So I'm sure, and everybody is, I'm sure, 21 plus, so they are smart enough to make this kind of a decision. And if they're not, definitely MBA, not just MBA, no, masters is the right choice for you.
Certainly, yes. See, Shivani, a lot of other students who have joined us, for them, the end result, what they consider to be the climax, is just about clearing the management examination, because they have not experienced the kind of journey what they will possibly experience after joining the business school. For you, how did the entire scenario change? I mean, you already had worked for a couple of leading startups before joining the MBA program. And then what are the things you experienced right from your induction at NMIMS till the final placement? If you can help us with your journey which is going to be slightly more motivating and inspiring for all of us. And if that journey looks lucrative, then possibly clearing the given management exam will just be a small part that these guys would be able to carve very well. So what will things happen with you inside NMIMS, right from your induction? How great was that? Your daily schedule at NMIMS, the most challenging scenarios which you have ever faced, the tension during your final placement and summer internships, and overall, how did you see that you have now become the entire personality character which you are having as of now got changed or got shaped up because of MBA? What will things happen with you then?
So, thanks, Abhijit. This is a really nice question again. So MBA is one thing. All the aspirants, whenever you enter there, I am 100% sure, and you can definitely hit me up if that doesn't come out to be true. Your life will have a separator, right? There will be a clear distinction between before MBA and after MBA once you do it. So MBA is a beautiful journey, and not just NMIMS, for any leading B school. All of us will have our own journeys, but they are going to be amazing. Given again, there's a conditions apply. So given that you make the most of it, all the B schools, all the tier 1 B schools offer great platforms. I'll preferably speak about NMIMS. So NMIMS from the orientation day, even though I was fairly experienced in my area, I was still going as a student. So I was going with a zero mindset. Okay. All of us have certain expectations when we are about to join a B school, right? Some of us are there for just an experience. Some of us are there for better placement. Some of us are there for very few of us, but some of us are there for better learning. So whatever your motivation might be, keep an open mind. So when I joined NMIMS, I went with a zero mindset. And what I mean by zero mindset is, I had thought about it that whatever the experience is going to be, I decided that I will always take it as a lesson. Always take it as a learning. It could be an experience which might make me very uncomfortable or something that I just don't like. But I will take it as a learning and I will take it with me forward. And I think that has hugely paid off. For example, during the orientation, I was this wide-eyed student. Now, first of all, I was very excited that after working for a few years, I'm getting to experience the student life again. And personally, I had this motivation that because I started working part-time during engineering, so I have MBA अच्छे से experience करना. Like I want to be a pure student during my MBA. I want to enjoy it thoroughly. So enjoy the entire. This is my one go-to tip to everybody, right? Think a lot, but don't think too much. So think a lot about what you are doing, how you are doing it, but don't think too much don't set too many precedents about how it is going to be. It's going to be amazing. All NMIMS, for instance, provides a great experience when it comes to learnings, when it comes to your entire academic curriculum, your entire academic flow. Very good faculties, very good experiences. Lot of there will definitely come a point in time when you are falling short of time, but there will be so many resources that you want to access. The college will provide you all the resources. It is you who has to learn to manage time. There might be moments which are, MBA is definitely, I don't want to make it all rosy-dozy. There are moments in MBA where you will go through a lot of pressure. But that is a part of the training. I strongly believe it's a part of training, and that's what is basically honing you for future life, right? So हिंदी में बोलते हैं ना कि हीरा हमेशा बनने के पहले बहुत प्रेशर के थ्रू जाता है. That is exactly the concept here. There are, for example, your summer internship process. You will enter college. There will come a point in time when everybody will start talking about it. Everybody will start preparing about it. A lot of discussions around it. Till the time you get summer place, because again, it is a very important stepping stone to your MBA. First year, then summer internship, then second year. Second year may depends on how your summer internship goes and how the economy is. There are certain external factors which are not in your control. I have to say this because of the uncertain times we are going through. So let's assume that you're preparing for final placements. So in that scenario, again, preparing for finals as well as focusing on your academics. One question that a lot of students do ask me, how important are academics in MBA? So, and it's a very tricky question, I personally think, because there is no right answer. Like a topper kind of a student will tell you that it's very important. Probably an average student might tell you, okay, it's just, so I'll tell you, this is your individual choice, right? Some people choose, it's your individual choice, because there are so many things to do in MBA. You will have case study competitions, you will have internal so many clubs and committees who keep organizing events which you can be a part of as a participant, as well as the organizing committee. You will have so many workshops, webinars, college council committees are also constant. Like, there will be a constant activity going through, and I think you can sense the excitement in my voice when I talk about my college.
Certainly, yes.
So, and given a condition, I have to claim this, that since I'm from the 21 batch, I am that one of the special batches who had their first year on offline on the campus, and second year online, completely online, which of course we were initially very disappointed about, but okay, these are the times, I'm in need of the hour. So despite having my second year online, I'm just excited about talking my college because it's an amazing journey. If you are there to learn, if you are there for an experience of a lifetime, MBA will be an experience for a lifetime, any tier one school, and definitely NMIMS.
Certainly, yes. Now, coming to the main question, what happened with Google now? At the time of it comes summer placement, I'm sure we have spoken before summer, not summer, the final placements also, and there was a lot of tension which was going on then, right?
Yeah.
Specifically with respect to the post-COVID scenario, how the scenario would change, and the uncertainty of companies will come or will not come. And still, the final picture of the climax was very wonderful, right? So if you can help us with your experience with Google interview, how did that happen? How was what kind of questions they asked you? What skill sets would they actually looked after in the candidates who got selected? And if you can help us with those questions on a very superficial level, possibly we can get to know about the perspectives that what are the skill sets that these companies will actually look after in the given candidate, or what candidates do these actually companies look after. Because I can see a lot of similarity and familiarity with all the students of NMIMS who have got into Google, specifically with the batch, your senior batch, your X number of batches who have been placed. There's a lot of similarity with the candidature also, which possibly I'll not tell you, but I've experienced. And since I was in touch with a lot of students, I can see that familiarity and similarity too. If you can help us with what happened at Google interview with you.
So if that's okay, Abhijit, I want to try and keep the discussion more umbrella in its pattern. When
Yes.
I talk about the experience, I'll preferably give ideas about how most of these aspirational companies, their processes go. So again, this is more an answer or a message to most of my other students who have joined us. Look, every company is there to hire you. So different people have different perspectives. Again, because all of us goes through different experiences. Some people undergo more rejections in the initial phase, so they get very huge, very easily bogged down. And vice versa also. Somebody who has made it will remain all positive. So it's a very individual journey. I strongly believe most of these companies. So there are two aspects that any aspirational company looks for in their candidate. There are some hard skills. When I say hard skills, it comes to your academic knowledge, your core knowledge. For example, if you're a marketing student, how well you can devise a marketing strategy, how well equipped you are with your domain knowledge, or what kind of projects you have done through your academic career. Those things matter. How well you have researched about the company, whatever you have put on your CV, how thoroughly do you know all that, right? So these are hard skills that any company would look for, and it's not just aspirational companies. Every company looks for, even the college, your seniors, your faculty, everybody will guide you towards how to prepare for this. Okay. Then there are certain softer aspects. softer aspects such as, okay, I'll start with a very commonly discussed skill, communication skill. Okay, so your communication skill. Uh, in general, I would talk about the era when we used to take in-person interviews. So any recruiter, if I were a recruiter and I would be interviewing a candidate, I would definitely ask them questions regarding their core knowledge, but I would also be parallelly observing their body language, their communication skills, their softer skills. So these are softer skills. Now this is pre-COVID era. Now when I talk about post-COVID era, I think a very instrumental quality students should have is how do you make a virtual interview feel like a real one.
No doubt.
So you have now, this is where I would say your true, how good you are at your communication skills. This is the real test because you have to communicate your body language as well, right? Through a virtual medium. It's very difficult to test that through virtual medium. So for example, I've had experience, there could be moments, for example, when the interviewer asking you a question, for example, say derive a marketing strategy for XYZ. He might give you a scenario and devise a marketing strategy. It's the problem statement given to you in the interview. Then how do you approach it? How most, if again in-person scenario, I would have just probably asked for a moment or two and just probably start doing my work on my notes. But because we are in a virtual medium, till if I start doing this, there's that awkward moment of 1 or 2 or 3 minutes where the interviewer is just waiting. Okay, हाँ, आप answer लिख लो, ढूंढ लो, फिर बताना. Right? Instead of creating that scenario, you could always keep the interviewer also involved. That is again, I believe that is a true test of your communication. For example, let's say Abhijit, you are my interviewer, and you've asked me this question. So I should probably involve you. Okay, I'm just thinking out loud, but I think, for example, this is the assumption I should take. Always state out assumptions. Always try as much as possible. Try to walk the interviewer through your thought process.
Certainly.
That's very important, I think, because even if you arrive at the wrong answer, if the interviewer is involved in your thought process and he likes it, I think you're golden. I think that's one of the most important advice I do want to give people. So your core skills is something you have to work on, and which I think is an incremental process. If you take all the learning seriously, if you take all one thing that I think again not many students touch upon, when you enter your MBA, take your projects very seriously. Take all your academic projects very seriously because at that point in time, it just seems like a lot of pressure. But if you go through that pressure, it is rewarding. You will have a lot of things to talk about. Like any question your interviewers ask you, you will always have an example. You will always have you will always have an idea that you will be able to come up with. So I think
I'm sure that this. No doubt. I'm sure the same perspective they would have to work on for their B-school interviews also. So it is not the case the same. So it's not going to happen in phases. Your preparation is not the case that you focus entirely on your CAT and MAT preparation, and in phase 2, once the results are out, then hardly you'll get a time to focus on the interview skills, which has to be nurtured then. So I'm sure, Shivani, if you can give some perspective to these candidates, how can they manage their timelines, what they are looking at, which is the preparation till November, December, the exams, which is going to happen by then. January, the result of all the exams will come out, and possibly from Jan end till March second week. March second week, NMIMS interviews will commence by then. And by then, symbiosis and the other interviews will also commence. So, and given the amount of time frame which you have got, and along with that, managing the other non-CAT examination will be certainly difficult. They will not be able to manage everything together. Unless they're corely focused only on the interview aspect of their preparation. So juggling between examinations which are due as well as the interview preparation is not going to be an easy task. I'm considering the case they could be into their final examination scenario. They could be into a job, or which is the ongoing assignment by then. So there are a lot of many things which they have to work on. And I'm sure if they can get the entire timeline and their climax very clear, that okay, these are the elements that I have to work on. And it is not the case that the milestone, once the milestone A is achieved, then milestone B have to be worked upon. And I'm sure some element they can work on from now itself, right? Be it working on their skill set, working on their certification courses that they can possibly look up to in the given time frame that we've got, nurturing their communication skills, working on their current affairs knowledge or general affairs knowledge, whatever it could be. Right. So if you can give them some perspective of what students should actually look forward in, right from the month of April till the month of March next year, so that they all of a sudden things don't pile up to them while preparing for the interviews, juggling between the examination, managing your office scenario, and towards the end you understand that you are missing on by one or two pointers which you could have done better in the end. I'm sure you might have gone through it in in the previous attempts also, right? So your experience with B school interviews. How many calls did you had, by the way, Shivani, when you prepared for the management examinations? Which all business schools calls you had?
I will have to check. I do not have it on the list, but yes, the interview processes that I did went through, and so everywhere. This is one thing I remember because I listed this very explicitly somewhere, that all the interview calls that I got, I was able to convert them.
Okay, that's really great.
So it's a rosy statement to make. The condition here is it may not be the specialization that I would have wanted, but I didn't make it to that B school. For example, MDI, for example, I did make it there, but it was not the specialization that I was doing. And same goes NMIMS. That with respect to that was like the ideal space where exactly where I wanted to go, and I luckily reached there. So now coming to your question, Abhijit, what and how should the students prepare? And how do they do that? Like you highlighted a very very astute observation, so to speak, that exams keep going on from November, December, and for if I remember correctly, that XAT happens sometime early in January.
This night of MyCAT will happen in the month of Feb. Then CMAT again will happen in the month of Feb. So there are new things which will be there.
Exams.
Some of the other things will go.
So exams and interview processes might even overlap. So, so you raise a very good question that how do students go with respect to this? Now, I'll come from my experience and slightly try to tweak it for the students who are not. So I was working when I was preparing for my B school entrances. There are students who might not be working if you are completely devoted to preparing for your MBA examination. I'll talk about both the scenarios. First, I'll talk about students who are working. See, ultimately, everything that you do, when people talk about building your CV, right? I'm building my CV. It is everything that you do that you can put on your CV that will give your interviewers initially would be your B school professors and other panelists, and later stages your summer internship companies and your final placement companies. So anybody who is basically going to interview, whatever is there on your CV, that gives them talking points to ask you questions. And let me tell you one thing: Rome was not built in a day, and everybody likes a very good narrative. Okay, everybody likes a good narrative. So what you essentially from today, we are almost at the end of April, so I'll start talking from May onwards. We are, I think, 7 months, close to 7 months plus down the line when students will start appearing for their B school examination.
Yes.
If you are working, first of all, continue to do great work. Please underline the word great. Okay, continue to do great work. Continue to devote yourself to work, but at the same time, you have to work through your preparation. You could be joining an institute, you could be following somebody, you could be doing it on your own. Either which ways, you need to have a clear-cut strategy. Okay, have both the goals, short term as well as long term. You have to understand that your entrance is just the first step. जैसे बचपन में बोलते थे ना कि बस बेटा 10th बोर्ड पास कर लो फिर तो लाइफ सेट है, फिर बस बेटा 12th बोर्ड कर लो अच्छे से फिर तो लाइफ सेट है. And that the process, I'm sure most of you might agree with me that that process has not ended, and if you haven't realized it, that's not going to end. It's a constant race, but you can make it nice. That's all you can do. So cracking the entrance exam at the face of it right now, it seems like that's the only hurdle that you have to pass. I would say cracking the entrance exam is the first step. Very important, probably the most important, but the first step only. It has, I would sort of equally, I would keep equal weightage on all the stages. First, cracking the B school entrance, then cracking the B school interview, then summer internship, and then final placement. It's a cycle. It's a process that all of us will go through. So if I talk about your short-term goal, like I said, have clear-cut short-term as well as long-term goals. Short term may you are going to focus on your entrance exam, because like I emphasized, first step, most important step. Here you are going to compete with the entire lot and hopefully come across as one of the best. That's where the B school shortlists will come.
No doubt.
But at that stage, you have to realize that now you are competing with the best of the lot, right? Because all the students who have cracked the exam, who have qualified to the interview stage, they are all at par with you somewhere, right? So from cracking from within, from the entire lot, because there are let's face it, there are certain good set of students who do not take exam seriously, or who are giving, let's say, dummy exam this year and I will take my serious exam next year. I do not personally believe in that concept. There is no next. There is this, like, always treat this attempt as your last attempt. This is now or never, do or die situation, so that you give it your 100%, 200% for that matter. So your short-term goal would be cracking the exam. Then when you are in the best of the lot, that's where you have to perform very well, so that you get a chance to enter your dream B school. And the race, again, like I said, the race doesn't end there. Understand, you have to realize that once you enter the B school, you are in the best of the lot. Realize that. So there, if you want to make it to your dream company, if you want to make it to your aspirational company, you have to remain the best of the lot. Okay. So right, I'm just trying to put it simply. Coming back to the point that I was saying, short-term and long-term strategy. Short-term may have a very clear-cut strategy. You have 6+ months. I would conservatively put it 6 months, because let's keep the last 1 month for your mock tests, any revision, any zero areas, any gray areas that you are not very confident about, if you want to work on them. So 1 month, even if I want to put a buffer, 6 months with you. Broadly, all the entrance examinations, you have 3 sections: quants, verbal, and logical reasoning, right? So all 3 sections. Uh, Somewhere, logical reasoning and quantitative aptitude, both the sections slightly more predictable and very, what should I say? You can predict, you can practice, and you can get better at them. Okay. That being said, realize that more than 70% of the aspirants usually are engineers. Okay, and it's a reasonable assumption, I think, to make, that you will have lot of people who will be great at quant section and LRDI section, because they might be comfortable with the background. So scoring there, like scoring a 99 plus percentile there, is not going to be a cakewalk. So you have to do your due diligence. You have to practice a lot in both the sections. Your verbal ability section is going to be a tiebreaker, and I think you should really encash on the section very well. Preparing for verbal ability section is an amazing journey, because one thing, it is slightly less predictable, but it's a very open area. Even if there are surprises, if you have thoroughly prepared for this section, uh, like some of my the tips off my head that I used to very religiously follow, and I think it helped me in the long run. There's no, it's called the reading comprehension section. So basically it entails 2 things. It's very simple. It basically entails 2 things: reading and comprehension. You have to get awesome at both. Mark my words, awesome at both. So you have to get great at reading. You have to get very quick, very fast at reading, and at the same time as quick and fast at comprehending. So reading comprehension for most of the entrance examination is the dominant part of the verbal ability section. Besides that, even if you master this particular skill set, it will help you in cracking other questions also. So it is a reasonable strategy to focus on the reading BARC section, and have, so this part although like you practicing the mainstream questions, passages, questions in constrained limits, these are your mainstream ideas. A few things that you should definitely do extra and keep in mind today. Uh, our exam happens on a digital medium. You're going to appear for the exam on a digital medium. So I'm sure Abhijit, you'd agree with me. Tell me, if I give you a hard copy of a book and if I give you an ebook, which one will you read faster?
It's quite obvious. No? Since our entire schooling, college, the kind of learning that we have gone through up till now was textual learning, right? So
Right.
anyone would be handy with respect to solving the questions, reading the comprehension or the solving essays purely on the piece of hard paper itself, where you can mark the words, highlight the important pointers, and then you can quickly head back to the pointer where you had. Suddenly, you had just have a glimpse of the entire passage once you read it on the screen, right? And we that tendencies we keep on forgetting what was there in para number one when we jump on to para number four, where you don't get pointers to highlight also, right? So
Exactly.
so that's what my one question also would be goes to you. So one is you have to work on the reading speed, that how quickly can you read, and second is your retention skill, right? Both is going to be important. So you do not have a uh, so much of a liberty of time that you reread the passage multiple times and you get puzzled. Even if you do that, you will get puzzled itself, because the more you read, the
Hmm.
more complicated it will become. Because the
Right.
kind of question will also be more critically influenced questions, where the questions could be about finding the assumptions, conclusions, or inferences, or finding the style of the passage or the tone of the passage. So, how do you nurture your retention skill also? I mean, is there any skill set that we can work on? Is there any specific exercise that we can do? And how do we gauge whether we are doing good, bad, or ugly, or average day by day? So, maths is simple. You read formulas, you're able to solve questions. It's way much more standard that you get to know how well you're doing in math. So
Right.
verbal, first of all, becomes a very neglected area because we do not know what it takes to excel in verbal ability section. And again, it is not the case. The more reading comprehension you solve, the better you become. I cannot give you like let's say you do 1,000 RCs and you become expert in that. It's a purely a skill set, and that's one of those sections which we have neglected since our childhood,
Right.
right? So how let's say specifically with this examination, and if you see the result or the scorecard of the students who get 99 percentile plus, whether you're an engineer also, I can bet on this, your maximum marks would be from verbal ability itself, followed by math, and then comes the LRDI section. So the most neglected section has a scope of giving you the maximum marks. And provided you will take some efforts towards that, possibly the ROI that you can make in a verbal is not what you can maintain quant in LRDI, right? But it becomes so open-ended that there's no structured framework that you need to do X, Y, Z. This is on the skill side, this is on the exercise side, and this is how you gauge your performance will be going up or down. So if you can help us, being a mentor also, that what it takes to make a very structured framework for verbal ability, like the routine that you would follow on a daily basis, the assessments that you need to give, and then towards in how do you assess your overall performance in VA? That you actually start with taking RC topic level test, then sectional, then full length test, or is it just about reading articles and blogs and understanding the nuances of it, or is it the summary that I need to write after reading a passage, which is going to help me out with a thorough understanding of the passage? What does it take? And it's very open-ended, and everyone will have their own perspective. A coaching institute will have its own perspective, which might not work for you unless you don't assess yourself. Math is a very standard thing. So you can do math in 3 months also, but possibly, and that if you're not skilled enough in verbal ability, it's going to take a year also, without any measurement that how well it is going up or down, right? So if you can give us some structured framework, okay, this is what the elements of scope of work that you need to work on. This is what you need to assess your skill set with your reading speed. How would you judge with your retention skill? How would you judge? And then overall assessments in terms of writing the full length papers or the previous papers. How important would it be, Shivan?
So you're right in highlighting that that verbal ability section, because quant and LRDI you can do a set of training, you can
Hmm.
practice enough to reach a good a competent level where you can be
Hmm.
confident, okay, this is my scoring and I should be able to get there.
Hmm. Hmm.
But verbal ability, like you said, 1,000 passages and still no guarantee that the 1,001th passage that you're going to do, you will be able to crack it or not. This is absolutely a very
Hmm.
true observation, because there is a level of subjectivity, there is a
Hmm.
level of newness that every reading comprehension or every verbal ability question can bring to the table.
Hmm. Hmm.
There is a level of uniqueness that can bring it, and like you highlighted, especially if you see most of the 100 percentilers, if you see their scorecards, they are able to score 99 plus or probably 100 percentile in quant and NRDI. The verbal ability section is kind of the deal breaker. So the students who are able to very smartly balance between all the three sections, don't ignore any section, because each section will basically help you get to a 99 plus, or let me say 100 percentile. That's the level we should aspire for. So in verbal ability section, now depends on how much time the students have, working students vis-a-vis to completely devoted students to preparation. One thing that you simply cannot escape out of, and this helps again in a short-term preparation, which is cracking the exam, and in the long-term preparation, which is you're cracking your interviews, making it to the B school and beyond. You have to read a lot. I keep telling the same thing. It as simple as it sounds, as under practice it is. Read, and read. There is no substitute to it. Now, when I say this, read so much. One few things that you need to take care of. One, don't focus on, like the question I asked you, don't focus on textual reading. Read on an e-platform. If you have a Kindle, okay, but the best medium would be to read on screen on a laptop or computer, whatever you have, because that's the medium that you are going to appear your exam on. You have to get comfortable with that level of reading. So e-reading, let me call it. E-reading is the most important part. And today, because again we have moved to a digital era, I think it is a reasonable estimate to make that going forward also you have to adapt the skill, whether by choice or by chance. So let's make it by choice and get extremely good at it. So reading, there is no substitute to it. Now students ask me, what should I read? There are few areas that I should say they are must read areas, and few areas which are should read areas. So you are entering as a B school candidate. Okay, you are aspiring to enter into a B school. So your must read areas should definitely be about economics, about business, about the nation in general, about the political scenario. And these are your must read areas because they do form the ecosystem around any business decision that people are going to make. Just think about it, explore yourself. You have to get comfortable with the terms inflation, GDP, your so there's so many topics that are covered, like the economy is doing well today, which sectors should we look forward to. When if an interviewer asks you these questions, you should have a perspective on this, right? Which are going to be the emerging sectors, industrial sectors, post-COVID era. You should have an answer to it. And how will you develop an answer to it? By reading enough in these areas. So I think a must-read sections are these: your business, your nation, your world news, international news, uh, politics, few areas like this. You need not have a strong opinion on it. When I say need not have a strong opinion, I mean don't express very strongly in an interview if you are a certain type of political supporter, whichever it is. But you should have a perspective, and you should have a rationale behind that perspective. So developing that, see, this is a long-term benefit, and the short-term benefit is preparing for verbal section. आपकी reading speed naturally बहुत improve हो जाती है. आप read करते हो, आप comprehend करते हो, आप opinion बनाते हो. And if you think about CAT, especially if you especially think about CAT as an examination, there are in the recent years there are no data-based questions. You don't have to find something from the passage and mark कि अच्छा मैंने ढूंढ लिया successfully, correct. That's not it. You have, most of the questions are inference based questions, which are basically your understanding of what the passage entails. So you are taking care of your reading, you are taking care of your comprehension by reading a lot. Ideally, I would recommend strongly our students practice this, because again, short term, long term, both the benefits. Whatever you read every day, try to summarize it in 100 words. 100 words is your limit. Try to summarize it, preferably write it. This will help you in the short term, because there are summary based questions that will come in your exam. So it helps you prepare for that. Second thing, going forward, your long term goal, MBA is all about writing. Okay, if you cannot write well, I think your MBA is going to be a big challenge. So it is better that you start developing that skills. Having good writing skills really helps. Really helps. And even as a next stage, once your MBA, your entrance exam results are out, you will have to write probably an SOP, statement of purpose, or you will have that written test during your I think it's called VAT nowadays.
Yeah.
So that process, you will go through that process during the examination. Like many B schools nowadays are replacing the GD because it's getting difficult to do it on a virtual medium now, especially.
No doubt.
So many good schools are replacing that process to a VAT where you will be given a topic spontaneously and you have to write. Developing your writing skill is extremely important. You have to, like, it's not a choice, it's also a must do activity, I feel. Now good to do may take sectional tests. I don't call it mandatory because mock tests are mandatory. Every student must and has to take mock tests. There is a very minimal proportion of students who have not given mock tests and have succeeded in CAT. And I don't think we should take that gamble. So always, it's a very commonly prescribed strategy for a reason. So you have to take enough mock tests. What number is enough? I don't want to give a number. I tried to take around 20, somewhere between 20 to 25 mock tests. And again, my frequency increased as I got closer to the examination. But whatever number suits you. Don't overdo it and don't underdo it. Is what I'm saying. Once you have a clear strategy, starting a few tests, I think around 5 to 10 tests, first 5 to 10 tests, you can still play around with your strategy. You can still try out different combinations. Should I attempt RC first? Should I attempt the non-RCs first? Or should I just go with the flow? What works for you? Where are you scoring better? For example, in my head, I used to think that I'm a master at RC, but actually, personally, parajumbles used to be a big hit for me. So my conscious attempt used to be, if there is a parajumbles questions, I used to first attempt those. So depending on what your comfort level is, how you will have to take that judgment for yourself. First 5-10 mock tests you can experiment. Then another 5 to 10 mock tests, you have to devise a clear-cut strategy and test it. And still, when I say all this, you have to keep a little bit of flexibility in your head in case all the examinations are known to surprise you. And this year, everybody's prepared for COVID. Like, you can expect a few surprises. So don't be that open-minded also, that if there is a change, how am I going to tackle it? Because uncertainty again is a very critical candidate in a B schooler, and being able to handle uncertainty.
No doubt. So it is majorly with respect to working on the skill set rather than the technical aspect of solving more number of passages, what you want to conclude. Right? So the better you skill yourself, the easier it's going to be for you to crack the given section of the probability. That's a good piece of thought, in fact, Shivani. Now we can take all the important questions which is there going on your head. So people who are live with us, you can either unmute yourself and ask questions to Shivani, or you can put your questions in the chat box or into the comment box of the YouTube live session. Now the question could be very specific to either CAT, or possibly questions could be about life at a business school, shaping up your profile, working on the CV, whatever it is going on in your head, you can ask questions to Shivani, who could be here to help you out.
So in the meantime, when the students are typing in their questions, I just want to leave them with one thought definitely, that everything that you do, it incrementally helps you build your profile. And like I mentioned earlier, everybody loves a good narrative. So whether you are a work experience student, whether you are a solely devoted to B school prep student, have something to talk about. Your interview for the B school, your interview for summer internship, for final placements. If there are any gaps on your CV, any appearing gaps on your CV, everybody's going to ask you what you did in that gap. You should have a good answer, right? Because there are so many, again, like I said, there are so many students who are preparing for B school entrances, who take a break and prepare for B school entrances. So you have to try, and let's face it, like when you enter the best of the lot, everybody's an achiever. Like every second person, probably not even the second, like every person you meet will be an achiever in some sense. They maybe academically, maybe work wise, maybe in sports, somewhere or the other, they will be an achiever. So how do you blend in as well as stand out? You have to achieve both. It's a very difficult state to achieve, right? So make sure that you are doing something productive. So start also parallelly researching in that direction. Although I would recommend that that research will come slightly later when you are thorough with your entrance exam preparation, probably after that phase when you research. But start researching and understand what are the specialization, what are the kind of roles. And one, this is coming from somebody who thankfully got into Google. Don't do company specific preparation. Make sure you focus on skill specific preparation. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Where exactly do you want to be? Some people aspire to be in product management roles. Some people aspire to be in digital marketing roles, project management, analyst roles. Research, determine where you want to be and prepare for it. So for different areas, different courses, different skills, different certifications will be helpful, will be very important, because those are extra areas of knowledge you should attain. So also simultaneously work on that, because that's what we exactly call building yourself.
No doubt. So there's an important question which has come from Vignesh on YouTube. It says, does past low academics affects your placement process also? And if it does, how do you overcome it? Shivani, you got the question?
That's a very interesting question. Take it from me, it doesn't.
Okay.
It does. But when I say it doesn't, you have to have something else, right? If your CV is basically more half empty, or there is no unique factor, it's not necessary that you have to be an academic achiever, but you have to be an achiever in some sense. It could be any area. You could be a writer, you could be a painter, you could be anything literally, but you have to have something to talk about, and you should be passionate about something. Okay, not necessary. See, certifications or any sort of certificate definitely helps, because it validates what you have done. It certainly helps. But even if it is not, how well equipped knowledge wise are you? Because there will be a place on the CV where you will be able to write about it, right? So whatever you are passionate about, be that passionate about that skill set or that area, that you are able to talk about it very well. You are able to engage the interviewer in a very good conversation, and basically, and the icing on the cake would be if you can make the interviewer think about your perspective. You can make them think about your perspective. Nothing like it.
Certainly,
So
yes.
take it from me, I have not been an academic achiever, and thankfully got into Google. So it does not matter, but you have to have something on your CV.
I hope that answered your question, Vignesh. Now, guys, because of time constraint, what we can do is we can, Shivani, if you can help us with your email ID so that people can reach out to you on your email for any specific question which you can try to answer them, if you can are willing to. Perfect.
Happy to help.
So if you can
I
put your email ID in the chat box, it's going to be available with everyone. I can possibly copy that and paste it on the YouTube comment box also.
Surely, I will. I'm just typing that in the chat box. It is Shivani Somani 96 @NMIMS. All right.
So it's Shivani Somani 96 @NMIMS. Perfect.
I've just also put it in the chat box for whoever has any specific doubts. You can always email me here, or you can connect with MBAP, and I will definitely try to help out through this channel.
Perfect. Then it was like absolute honor to welcome you, to have you here on the board. Make sure that we'll make sure that in the upcoming sessions also, whenever you have time, you can come on board again to guide all the students who will be available for the academic year. And it was our pleasure to welcome you. And I hope and we wish you all the very best for the upcoming journey with Google and the life ahead. Okay. Thank you so much, Shivani, for your time and all the efforts which you have taken for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Abhijit. It was a pleasure being here, and wish you and all the students a very best.
Thank you so much, Shivani. Pleasure. Thank you.